So hi there. Today, let's talk about emotionally abusive parents. If you don't know me, my name is Julius. I am a student within the parental system, which is a whole big thing. But yeah, mental health, and because of my interest in mental health and education, I've done a lot of scientific research and in-person research, whether it comes from my own family, other people's families, my friends, and all of that, right? Um, I think, I think, whatever. I'm gonna make this a little more authentic. I've I've learned a lot about the field of relationships, and not just romantic, but familial, platonic, romantic, all that. And I think one thing that isn't talked about enough is the abusive dynamic of a lot of families. So when talking about abuse, I think the one thing that I really want to highlight is that it isn't something that you compare, right? Because a lot of times you'll hear the argument, oh, kids in Africa are starving to death. And so you being yelled at isn't something that should be like compared to, or like it's not even on the same level like at all. So it's like, oh, you're like a snowflake, you're like a crybaby. But unfortunately, that's not how abuse works in the mind, right? And this kind of dives into the elite class, capitalism, all of that, which I don't think is appropriate to dive into. So yeah, maybe we'll talk about that in the future if people are interested. So for this video, instead of me talking about emotional abuse, I am going to encourage my audience or you, the viewer, to do some of your own research. What is the definition of emotional abuse? Right, you can look it up on, I don't know, PubMed, YouTube as well, other YouTubers. Maybe there's plenty of mental health content creators. Personally, I recommend people like Dr. K, who has the channel Healthy Gamer. But yeah, there's a lot of psychologists, therapists, and all that. So yeah, go look into it. What is it? So for me, just going out like off the dome, emotional abuse can come in a lot of forms. It can come in gaslighting, coercion, yelling, all sorts of things, right? And sometimes even differentiating between emotional and physical abuse can be kind of not counterintuitive. The word I'm looking for is they're usually mutually together, like they come together, because the damage that quote unquote emotional abuse does to us is physical. It affects our brains, which affects our bodies, and so in a way, like all abuse is just like it's still abuse. Even quote unquote emotional abuse still does physical harm to the person. So first of all, let's talk about what you should or can do if you're the one being abused. One very important thing is to be very careful with who you share that information with. Now, I was lucky enough to have a support system outside of my blood family. And a lot of people, I believe a lot of people who've been in abusive families have noticed that blood doesn't mean shit. It's unfortunate, but it is true. Just because someone's related to you by blood doesn't mean that they'll care for you. And you know, that's yeah. I mean, look at hamsters who eat their own children. Right? It doesn't mean much. Another thing is it is in your best interest to get out of that environment as best as you can. Now, if you can't, then sometimes you have to develop emotional regulation, sometimes emotional, not necessarily manipulation, but you have to learn a lot of communication skills, right? And one argument that I've heard is like these kind of situations allow you to develop like insane skills of like diplomacy, and like sometimes you can like look at it, like look at our current government and all that. I'm not saying that they're quote unquote good at it. Like, you know, it's like it's all of it's subjective, and let's not go too deep into politics as of now, even though abusive families are a big thing that is controlled by politics. Everything is politics. But yeah, um, if you can't get out, you need to learn to deal with it, because unfortunately that's just what the situation requires you to do. So some methods include gray rocking, which is not giving any kind of response to the abuser. And in my experience, sometimes that can backfire, because they will go literally batshit crazy because of lack of response, right? Sometimes they may see gray rocking as disrespect. And sometimes it might have to be a combination, right? Maybe it's pandering. I know for my brain, pandering just doesn't work, because actually I wouldn't say it doesn't work. I just have refused to allow myself to pander to anyone in my life, essentially, unless I'm trying to get something from them. But yeah, a lot of things you can do, right? And it's really scary, because sometimes you learn these techniques of how people's brains work, and what kind of things people want to hear. And sometimes you just start to think of people as things to get past, instead of actual individuals, which is, it's unfortunate. But at the current stage, if you are reliant on your abuser, which is it's I have so much anger, or just it's honestly just a lot of annoyance toward the subject. But yeah, it's the power hierarchy. It's disgusting. And if you have any further questions, feel free to leave a comment, DM me on Instagram, whatever. Yeah, seek help. Be careful with online personalities. Same with me. Don't trust me. Don't trust anyone on the internet without having some sort of confirmation, especially with nowadays AI and all that. Be careful. Don't trust anyone that you don't know personally, and even if you know them personally, don't trust them fully. Always be careful. Always be wary. And yeah, it's a tough world out there. It's a tough world out here. Now, another thing I want to talk about is why do these people become abusers? And to put it simply, a lot of times it's just passed down trauma, right? And you'll see this especially among really successful people. Sometimes these individuals, they'll actually gain a lot of respect within their communities. Maybe they're seen as a really skilled worker, someone who is actually really communicative, really chill, someone who's just a nice guy, right? But then under that, I wouldn't necessarily even say facade, but under that surface is the abusive and destructive personality that people that are only close are able to see. A lot of the times, and I would argue a majority of times, it comes from their parents, their life experiences, right? Maybe it comes from being in patriarchy and then kind of internalizing a lot of toxic masculinity. Maybe it's military speech, right? If you think about how a lot of men were forced into boot camps and the drill sergeants and all that yelling, that breaks people down, and it's for a reason. They want you to be mindless fucking machines, drones, with no thoughts of their own. Right? And sometimes the only way to combat that is to either become mindless or join them, right? So yeah, be careful with the military. Don't put your kids in that system if they haven't had the mental stability to handle that, because you will not have the same children. You will have a machine that is filled with PTSD and a whole lot of other stuff, right? It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing, and that's why I'm very anti-military. I'm anti-war. It's a big surprise. Mental health kid doesn't like war. But yeah, so I think that about sums up The video, I know it's really unscripted and unpolished, but honestly, I like these kind of videos, right? And you get to see a little more um, of like how I am. But you know, everything's a performance. Even this is a performance. All of it's a performance, right? Why do people abuse? Why do they not? Who cares? So much shit to do. But anyways, love you all. No matter who you are. I won't say you deserve love, but I hope you find love. Not just romantically, but just genuine love and care. And yeah, have a nice one. Stay safe.